What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the BREWtally Speaking podcast. I am your host, John, and this episode's guest is the returning Josh Schroeder, not Schroeder, as I have been saying it for I don't know how long, but he is a producer extraordinaire, owner of Random Awesome Studios out in, I think, like Midland, Michigan, or like Bay City, Michigan. But either way, a very good friend from a long time back in his Besiege days and his playing days. I feel like there's not a whole lot of people that remember him kind of from being a musician and playing in the local scene. And Besieged actually was kind of a pretty big band, I feel like, in our local area, and like signed to like a smaller label and so forth. And just, God, what a fucking great band. I always tell him how much I loved his band, even though he's done so much more than that. But and by we, I mean, if you're watching the video version, you're about to see a really nice looking shot version of this podcast. Thanks to Alfonso from Heartsick for tagging along. I picked him up on the way. We went to the studio, and Josh was finished for the day recording a band, and then gave me about an hour and a half of his time to catch back up and, kind of talk all things deathcore, I guess, and being a producer, and kind of how, just the balance of work life when you literally live where you work. Like that was kind of an interesting thing. It's just, going through part of the house, and then all of a sudden it's like you're down in the studio, and it's like a whole nother world, and then there's the house, and that's its own world. And just sort of compartmentalizing your life and navigating this career that has blossomed for him in the last few years. I mean, it's been something he's done for a very long time, but sort of, I think certain records have just kind of like really caught on in the mainstream versus like kind of being like the records of the underground, where it's like, oh man, this last Plea for Purging record was really good, or this Color Morale record was really good. Like the stuff he's been doing with In Heart's Wake, this obviously the Lorna Shore stuff, the Of Sulfur, like it just seems like everything he's touching at this point, like it's impacting it, it's resonating with so many people, and it's kind of I think kind of putting a lot of eyes and ears onto a scene and a genre that largely has kind of been underground, and to kind of be literally kind of manning the boards and kind of helping bring these epics, essentially, especially in the sense of like Lorna Shore, like these feel like just epic like scores with some of the production that Josh is throwing in on these things, to kind of some of the stuff with like King and all that. Like, Josh is somebody, doesn't do a whole lot. You don't really see him. That's why I had to travel a couple hours each way to go to his house and to do this. But I'm always appreciative of his time, and he's a really interesting person. I think he has a very dry sense of humor that comes across when you see him doing various things social media wise, when he opts to tap into that. But by and large, I think the actual person, someone that not a whole lot of people get to know, and to kind of get to know Josh on a personal level, I think is to kind of understand what makes him so great at doing the producing side of things. Because I think they're the symbiotic relationship of who Josh is and how he approaches a lot of the things in his life, but especially from a production standpoint, there's a lot of attention to detail and a lot of care paid to the people. And I think in the day and age now where everything's done so digitally, and the humanity of things is kind of lost, I think Josh finds a way to bring that through with modern technology and so forth. And you're going to kind of hear that. And I think that's why I've always enjoyed getting to know Josh, and why I've always enjoyed hearing stories of other people's experiences with Josh, because I think he is just a genuinely great person to know. And not a lot of people, sadly, get to know him, because he's such a fucking hermit and just stays shut up in his house for long periods of time. But I guess that also adds sort of the mystique. He's sort of, to use like kind of like a wrestler thing, he like just kayfabes so much of his, his own existence that it is kind of hard to know, what's real and what's a persona, I guess, to a degree. But maybe this will offer a little glimpse into more of the person that Josh is. And, we had been talking about doing this for a while and just really never found the time. And I had this was sort of like a culmination, and it feels really serendipitous to kind of be the last episode of the podcast, to be the not of the podcast, but of this season, and just kind of how it all came together. Like I really wasn't gonna have time to go to the studio and go see him because of the hours that he records. And then as luck would have it, I ended up switching jobs and between a trip that I had and then just, wanting to take a little bit, of, at least a week between jobs off, I suddenly found time and just decided to do it. And I just got to thank Alfonso again for providing awesome photos of our experience and for filming everything and kind of putting the edits together as you see. If you're watching it, if not, I think you should watch it. It's probably going to be the best that this show will ever look because I do not have a nice camera like that. And typically the days of doing these in person like that are kind of not really happening a whole lot more anymore. Like it just a lot of people would just rather do them on the internet, and that's fine. It provides a lot more opportunities to get people more than trying to do it in person. But definitely check out this video because I think it looks really great. And you don't really see me. Josh is kind of the focal point, so I mean, you're not staring at me a whole lot. All of that to say, to kind of start wrapping this up, if you would like to keep up with Josh, you can find him on Instagram at randomjoshum. Otherwise, go to Josh Schroeder. Sorry, see, I still want to do it. JoshSchroeder.com. You can find him on Twitter at randomawesome, which I don't think that's been active since like the last Lorna record, and then Facebook at Random Awesome as well. He keeps up with that, kind of posts like what he's doing and all that kind of stuff with the bands that have been putting out music and so forth. So a couple of different ways to keep up with what he does. Go check out his Nail the Mix too if you're into that and are into producing. A lot of little interesting tidbits in there about different gear he uses in the process therein. If you'd like to keep up with me, you can do such at BrewSpeakPod on all your social media platforms of choice. Email me at brutallyspeaking@gmail.com. Rate, review, subscribe. You know why that is important. Please do such however you are able to on whatever you're able to do it on. Always appreciated. And lastly, for the season, Rockabilia. Go to rockabilia.com. Use our code BREWtally at checkout. Take 10% off your total purchase order. Get some new swag for the new year. Save some money while you're doing it. And new collabs, I'm sure, are going to be coming in the new year. Lots to look forward to. I know there is something that is in the works that I cannot talk about, but you will probably be hip to it. Also, they put out a new website. I forgot to mention that over the course of this season. Rockabilia 2.0, they were teasing for a little bit, but essentially, new website, new photos, new stuff. Like I said, a lot of collabs that they are in the works, some stuff that's already dropped. They try to do something, I think, at least once a month. So just always be updating. And then again, just use our code, save some money. It's a win-win for everybody. And without further ado, that is it for this season for me. I am already hard at work on some other guests for what will be the next season. I have no idea when it's going to come out. If anything, this season taught me that kind of doing things on my own the way that I wanted to and having the people on that I wanted to have on without just kind of having bullshit in it to fill a week was a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be. But part of that also was the industry shutting down around now at the end of the year. But I got a couple of guests, stokes in the fire, irons in the fire, whatever the phrase is. I got one that I'm really hoping to get it done pretty soon because I'm really intrigued to have someone on in this space that I don't think I ever would have thought to have had someone on. So lots to look forward to. Thank you so much for anyone that has checked out this season. I'm very excited to get this out to all of you and to everybody that's been on the show. Thank you so much for all your time this year. And hopefully you have a great rest of your year. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas, all of those things. And I will talk to you when I talk to you next. Enjoy this chat with Josh. Well, Josh, I told you I was going to give you a James Lipton question.
Uh-huh.
Who is Josh Schroeder?
Who is? Oh, some guy addicted to pinball and has finagled a way to siphon deathcore money and turn it into pinball machines. That's me.
That is a. It's interesting. I've been doing so as I've been kind of telling you in DMs and so forth. I've been going for a new job, so it's been interesting to kind of do this, but to like earn your keep to get a new job. And be like, I hope I do a good enough job that you want me. But it's been interesting being asked certain questions, and some of them as I get older now, like being 40, 41, that you're just like, I don't know that this really applies anymore the way that it would have if I was a young 20-something.
Sure.
And one that kind of really struck me was this gentleman asking me, where do I see myself in 5 years? I would almost like to, given the propensity of your career now, not to ask you where do you see yourself in 5 years, but what in the last 5 years has been really crazy? That like when you look back on it, you're like, wow, I can't believe X, Y, or Z happened.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is Lorna Shore taking off. Nobody saw that coming.
No.
You
I mean,
know.
not to give myself any kind of credit for something I had nothing to do with, but I remember when having Adam on right after the last record with CJ.
Oh, yeah.
And, I asked a question that I was really hesitant to, but it was so interesting of a thought. And I guess, actually, let me pose this question to you as well, because you were a part of this creatively.
Mm-hmm.
How was it for you to go through that process where something you worked on had your name attached to, and now through no fault of your own, no interaction or any of that kind of stuff, sort of now it's, I won't want to say it's in jeopardy, but it's tainted now. This thing that you created is tainted through no fault of your own. What was that process like for you?
Oh, let me see. How would you say tainted? How define that?
The actions of the individual that caused...
Oh, I see. Are you talking about CJ?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you got to move to turn everything on, or what just happened?
Weird. The lights just went out. I didn't pay my studio bill. I kind of spent a little too much money on 1 second.
Yeah, I don't know what happened here.
Bought too many pinball machines. All right. Let's see. It's one of those things, right? Where, hold on a second. That light wasn't there, Fonzo.
Continuity.
I was gonna say something looks weird. There we go. Got it. We got it. The thing with CJ. It's the music's great. I'm really proud of what I did on it. Mm-hmm. I did a lot of orchestrations on it, most of them. Really proud of the arrangements. Helping arrange songs to get them to that they in a way that the band liked. It really felt good, especially like the last song we put together, being Immortal. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun just to like get a song done with the band that kind of set up the sound going forward. Once we had that song done, it felt like, okay, that's it. That song now kind of like, I want to say the template, but it feels like the band really like, that's the sound now. And everyone kind of agreed. So going forward, when we did the EP, Pain Remains and stuff like that, it was about, how do you recapture that kind of feeling that we got putting together Immortal. And it had a very strong identity out the rip, in terms of what we wanted to do with it. So it just made sense. So we kind of like, that was the template, and it was a lot of fun helping the band shape that, getting, I kind of put the intro together. I'm like, just give me a couple of ring outs. I'm going to write this big epic thing because they wanted, something that sounded like Deathcore Super Bowl. I'm like, okay, I know exactly what to do now. You know what I mean? And just starting with an idea like that. So that's kind of how that one came about. And then, getting it set up, getting like this solo breakdown into a breakdown, I thought was really fun and cool putting that together. But yeah, I'm not too worried about the tainted side of things. It's what it is.
Well, because so to kind of go back, when I had talked to Adam, because that was all kind of breaking right then.
That was pretty fresh, right? Yeah.
And so my question to him was like, you have been grinding away for like a decade or so. You're finally like, this album seemed like it was poised to kind of break you into a new level of notoriety and all this kind of stuff. And now it's like, before it really could reach the pinnacle of what it could do, it's already being underswept from you through no fault of your own. Now it's tied into your profession and all this other stuff. Like, how are you feeling? And the answer to his question like went viral in like the truest of senses. Like AP picked it up, and I remember feeling kind of bad because like I'm just asking from a sense of like I'm curious. Like I know I would be like I didn't do anything to deserve this. Like
Yeah.
through no fault of my own, now I'm being punished for someone else's actions.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling like, oh man, maybe I kind of burned Adam on that, like that it went viral. And I remember Adam texted me like, holy shit, we're in AP. AP is covering us. And
Yeah,
I
that's
remember
cool.
being like, oh, so you're not mad? And he was like, no, like this is more press than we've ever gotten for anything. So it almost seemed like it kind of, I don't want to say righted or wrong, but it seemed like it took something where it made a faceless thing where people were like, you're just people on the internet, that's how
Yeah.
you exist, and it humanized this thing that they were going through. Like there are casualties to other people's actions, and this is kind of the fallout from it. And so like, it's interesting to see how that was sort of the impetus of now like the just continuous monstrous growth of the band. When you guys were recording that, did you know did you even think it would like go crazy like it did?
Are you talking about Immortal? Or are you talking about the EP?
The EP, like with
No,
Will.
not at all. No. The thing we talked about, to go back to finish actually answering your previous question.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect me nearly as much as it does the band, right? Because when a band puts out a record and it gets tainted that way, they got to live with it for the next year or two, right?
Yeah.
For me, I got another album coming up, so not that I don't care, I do, but it's, I'm not worried about myself. I'm obviously worried about the band, what to do about it. I remember when that happened, it's just like, great, now what? You know what I mean? Because we all worked very hard at, Adam, and it was really Adam and Austin and myself, putting the whole thing together, the three of us. So, I felt bad for them, and it's like you said, it was cool with the podcast how that all ended up working out. But then when they came, we were going to have Will do Immortal, and that was going to be his debut. And we might have even booked studio time, but I remember talking about it and thinking, it's just like, this doesn't seem like a good way to debut a new vocalist, because they'll just, even if he is objectively better than the old one, people will just compare it, and it's just not a good way. So then they had the idea, I think, of doing the EP, which is obviously good. But yeah, we thought it was great. We liked it. When Adam and I talked about what did we do well in Immortal and what could be done better, well, the obvious thing was vocals. We're just like, CJ just came in and in 3 days did the whole album. We didn't have too much time to go over it. So, once I met Will, it was pretty easy to just be like, hey, you want to try this and that? And he was very open to it. He's like, oh yeah, anything, I'll do whatever. So he was really easy to work with right out the rip. And we kind of focused on getting choruses down. So it's just like, with CJ's, it was kind of random. It wasn't, it didn't seem as well thought out as it could be. That was the thing we all thought. So just like, okay, let's take a little more time and make sure the vocals sit really nicely with the music. And we thought it was great. I mean, I thought it was awesome. But it's just, it just kind of took on a life of its own and surprised everybody. Yeah.
Well, I think that's sort of the interesting thing, and I've had, some of the guys, like, I haven't had Adam or any of the Lorna guys on since, but it's something we've talked about, and I'm kind of blanking on the other band, and I had someone from the band on, but the actress lady that also had some band, and I'm, again, blanking on who it was, but deathcore for, like, 6 months had 2 very viral moments that were, like, everywhere, breaking into the mainstream, and it's just kind of one of those things where, you're, like you've been saying, like you're so focused on just head down, do the work, and the results will show themselves eventually. But to kind of have a spotlight on something that you're a part of, that you believe in so much, I feel like it's just got to be kind of interesting to just be like, oh, wow. I mean, I knew that, that part made us laugh, like in like how absurd it is, and it's funny, and, we went for it. But beyond that, to think that it would have those kind of far-reaching ramifications and what it would then do for Lorna, like, I think is just one of those things, like, are you even aware of it in the time and at the moment at all?
No, not at all. No, for me, it's always just like whatever makes this song, whatever gets everybody in the room to light up, like they love it. You know what I mean? Does someone hate it? What can we do to make this better? Yeah, I just have a vague recollection of Will making a funny sound there or something. We just did a couple of different takes of it just because, this is cool, big break, whatever. We all had a laugh with it, and that was about it. You know what I mean? I try not to focus on that too much. It's easy to psych yourself out. it's hard to really comprehend those types of things. So for me, it's just like, just do what I always do. I just keep making records.
Well, I feel like it almost, to kind of use like a wrestling thing, I feel like it's almost like I'm just trying to pop the boys. Like whatever does that. So like to me, not being in this room where it's like I know it's serious, but it's like I can almost just be like, hey, you kind of were doing something there. Just really go even more ape shit with it. Just go as crazy as you think that part can be, because it's popping all of you in the room at the moment. And you're like, it does fit within the song, but it's really just like, even if we never use it, it's funny and it's popping us.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good way of putting it. It is exactly that. For me, it's because my audience isn't really like the people. I don't really think about. I think about the band.
Yeah.
For me, it's whatever I can do, production wise, some ridiculous drop, something that just like gets everybody fired up. Then I'm doing my job. Because if I can get it's like a comedian for the other comedians. If they're laughing, okay, cool, I'm doing my job. If the audience doesn't get it, they'll filter it out in such a way where people will eventually get it. But for me, it's a matter of making sure that they're excited about what we're working on.
It was funny because in this seasonal format that I'm doing, Chase, I just did one with Chase. He's the last one I did before you from Upsulphur.
Oh, from Upsulphur. I was just about to say, cool.
And so what was really interesting is, we spent a decent amount of our conversation talking about Wither.
Yeah.
And the thing I had kind of asked him, and I'm intrigued to extend part of this conversation with you, is I said to Chase, I feel like that's one of those songs, knowing how you like to really work with people who are adventurous and really push themselves, the genre, whatever. That seems like one of those songs where whatever the demo looked like for them, I could just imagine you lighting up and going, I really, really am I'm excited to work with you, but oh my God, I can't wait to work on this with you because of where we can take it and what we can do. What was your recollection of working on that song and getting it to where it is as we've heard it now?
Yeah, it was something different, right? It's like, again, you're a deathcore band, but you're doing something that's like really a radio rock song at the end of the day. But it still has the same. We're still using the same guitars, same drums. So So it has certain characteristics that are tailored to a deathcore sound. But you're bringing that into this rock world. I mean, to me, that's where like interesting music happens. It's all cross pollination.
Yeah.
Anything that's stuck in a genre, unless you're a legacy act, a lot of times ends up sounding stale. So that cross pollination, I was excited about that because Chase has got a great voice and Ricky can sing his ass off as well. So they're really good singers in the band. And we did another song that's, on the album that I can't wait for people to hear. That's also really, really good. Working on that, it was really emotional for them, for sure. I remember them both kind of breaking down in the middle of the session, just like, it was very recent and very raw for them. So, again, there's something that's like, here's a real thing to talk about. Because people like, you write lyrics from a fictional standpoint about this and that, and sometimes it's how authentic is it? I like the idea of writing about, the end of the world or something. It's like, okay, but like, how personal is it? So if there's some kind of personal story, usually that's the authentic thing. You know what I mean? No matter what that looks like, if it's something funny, it's about your family or something. But that one was pretty personal. It was cool. I thought it turned out great, and it seemed to take off well too.
Yeah.
Because the first single that came out was like what you'd expect, really heavy, all the horror visuals, and it did okay. And then Wither came out, it seemed to do like way better than their heavy stuff. So, it's kind of cool. Yeah, the song's great.
I often wonder, and I'm sure you are aware of this, but, and I'll kind of give a little bit of context in case my question doesn't quite make sense. Mm-hmm. I've learned through doing this, and I don't think doing this is a skill. Okay. I'm getting better at understanding there is a little bit of a tangible thing that makes it a skill, but to me, talking to people is not a skill. And that's usually the reaction I get from a lot of people is it's hard to get people to talk at length and open up. In the sense that I have learned that people, for some reason, really, there's something about me that makes people feel comfortable to open up and really kind of delve into these things that you probably shouldn't with someone you just met.
Right.
What do you think you bring from a creative side as a producer that allows people to tap into those things, to capture these moments that just resonate when they come out, like almost on impact? What is it that you think you bring to the table?
Oh, I listen to the people I work with.
Okay,
Uh,
it's as simple as that.
It's the surface level is, oh yeah, you listen to the band. No. Listen to the people that you're working with, because once you understand them, you understand what they like, what they don't like, the things they're into that have nothing to do with music. When you really get to know people and they feel like they are known by you because you're a good listener, I think I'm a really good listener. I'm a better listener of people a lot of times than I am of the actual music I'm working on. You get a better understanding of what the person wants, because using language to describe what a distorted guitar sounds like or a drum sound like isn't very good. It's not very good. So the best way to do that is to listen to somebody, get to know them. What's their family like? What's their job situation? What are their hopes and dreams for the band? Who are their influences? And get right to those things, because they might say the cool thing that they think that you want to hear, right? Oh, my favorite drummer is so-and-so because that's cool. It's like, from talking to you, I don't think so. I think you actually like this genuinely.
Yeah.
And you should, be honest about it. But it's hard because sometimes you'll meet somebody, like when I did the 156 Silence, we only had like 3 or 4 days. So it's just like, there's 5 people here that I'm trying to get to know and figure out real quick to try and develop a sound. So that's a little tricky. I prefer more like longer, sessions that way, because I can get to know everybody, and like what are the interesting quirks about these people that make them unique, and some of the things they try to hide that I try to bring out a little bit, if it makes sense and if it's good chemistry with the band in such a way, so that all 5 members, let's say, have personality showing through, and then now this album is this melting pot of all these people. And to me, that's what makes albums, that's kind of what makes an album great, is that identity. Because you can have an okay song, but if you have great identity, you're going to be huge. You know what I mean? If you have a really well-written song, but there's no personality to it, most people won't resonate with it. It's that personality. It's that, you look at a Johnny Cash song, it's pretty basic. But there's a lot of personality. There's conviction in the story. There's conviction in the voice. Not much range. Not much in terms of great pitch, or even rhythm for that matter, but like it comes together in such a genuine article that you can't help but be drawn to it. You can be tone deaf, you can be rhythm deaf as well, but you'll still resonate with it. And that's the thing I tell people all the time too, is it's like, you don't have to be a movie buff, but if you watch a movie with somebody that doesn't really know anything about it, they can tell right away if it's bad acting, right? You don't have to, it's like, that's bad acting. Well, how do you know? You just know, right?
Right.
So what is it? It's authenticity. So having that come through, listening to people, working with people, like, being genuine. Like, I'm genuinely interested in working with the people I work with. Like, I want to know them, because if I know them and know what they want, and also too, like, if I feel connected with these people, I have more motivation to make sure, like, I want to set them up. I want them to leave with a record that's going to do well for them, because I care about these people. So I just feel like I just work best in that kind of scenario. Some people like working anonymously. Just slip me a record under the door and I'll mix it. I can do that. Music, if it's good music, it does a lot. But I work best with people when I know, them personally. I think it comes out more transparent that way.
To fold on to that, is that a thing you've always been aware of in your interpersonal relationships, or is that something that it took time to understand? And if so, how long did it take for you maybe to feel comfortable bringing that into what you do?
It's kind of like a slow evolution, that you just, I've never been, I've always been the introverted, shy type of person. I would listen in band practice and then bring riffs and things like that, or a drum part or something, and just kind of figure out, oh, if I bring this drum part, does that make everybody in the band, they're liking that? It's like, is this cool? Is this like, because people will, people will lie. It sounds negative, but they'll be nice to you. And, I can tell the difference. You're just being nice, or you genuinely like this thing. So that's the thing I try to get to the heart of. And again, the more you know somebody, the more you can tell. It's like, I know so-and-so's just trying to be nice to me. He doesn't like this little production thing I did. Okay, never mind. I'll try something else. So again, you know what I mean? Like, you know people like that.
Yeah.
Like, you're good friends. You can tell them they're just being nice or if they're genuinely interested in something. So trying to cut to the heart of that and again, lower those barriers and be like, be honest with me. It's just like, I got a lot of bad ideas too. It's fine. We can fail here. We got time to fail. You know, we'll all pitch some bad ideas and it's okay. You know, you won't hurt my feelings. What will hurt my feelings if you don't say something and the record comes out and you're like, oh, I wish it would have been this way or that way. I'm like, I wish you would have told me.
Right. Yeah, I think that's just a hard thing that people do is like we're so actually like Alfonso and I on the way up we're kind of discussing how I'm about to leave the bar that I work at like one night a week, and I was saying like there was this altercation and dealing with demographics of younger like 20 somethings to 30 somethings 40 somethings and all the way across the board. I want to validate people's feelings and when they say things, but I also am like, well, just because you feel this way doesn't mean I have to overreact to the information you're giving me. I have to kind of take it in and make it work. So like, I heard you, and I want you to know I heard you, and you're validated in your feelings. This is being handled over here. It may not be being handled the way you want, but it's being handled. And I've kind of learned in the last few weeks, like seeing how this is. It's like sometimes I feel like the younger generation is just so like they're very good at expressing their feelings, and that's awesome because like that's definitely not how we grew up, or I'll at least say like I grew up that way.
Oh yeah, no.
But I feel like they do it at such a way where it's like, well, I did the thing, so now you have to react to my reaction, and I have to be the important thing that's the main focus of this. And it's like, no, you're a part of it. And I will take that in, and I'm going to now deal with this other thing. And then hopefully when I have more of an understanding of what entirely happened, I will then proceed with all of the information I have to make a more informed decision of what we need to do moving forward.
Right.
And I feel like people, I don't know if that just comes with age. I don't know if that comes with when we grew up, like the actual era and like the circumstances of how we grow. But I realize like sometimes, and even like doing this thing, you kind of got to play this like weird balance of everything where you're like,
absolutely.
And it's kind of exhausting on your own where you're like, where do I fit in any of this? Like, I'm just trying to appease everything else, but I'm not really injecting any of myself into it. And is that the right thing or the wrong thing? Or, and finding that even.
Yeah. For me, I have a saying that I came up with, which is a good producer knows when a band needs help, and a great producer knows when the band doesn't need help. So it's just checking your ego. Like you said, when do you insert yourself? You know what I mean? When I feel like help is needed, okay, I can help. But I don't want to ruin something if a band's already has momentum. It's like, cool, let them do their thing. And I don't always get it right, but I think, I've gotten better at sensing momentum when something's going on. And I can step in. So, with some bands, I do a lot of writing, writing for, pretty much writing a whole song, let's say, and then bring it to the band. Or a band brings a song in and they just have maybe it's just a structure thing. So it can really look different. And everyone's different too. Like the thought of me back with my old band going to produce, it's like, hell no. No one's going to touch my songs. But I've gone through that. And then I think that's a problem of not writing as much music as maybe you should. You shouldn't be too attached to your own songs to some degree. You should be writing enough where you can, it's fine. I'm not a finite well of creativity. If this song doesn't work, we can arrange it. If someone has a better idea, it's easy to take it personally. So I've been getting better about my writing routine, about just writing a lot. And I'm okay if a band's like, no, we don't like those two songs. Like, cool, I got another one. Or I can just write something else. Because it can be devastating. Because if you spend so much time on a song, you get so much wrapped up in it. But yeah, there's a lot. It's a complicated thing in terms of, how much of your own self do you put in? Is it satisfying? For me, yeah, it's a very complicated role because sometimes you're a therapist for people, you're a mediator with disagreements, you're a barista. Sometimes that's my role.
Yeah,
is making coffee, make sure everyone's taken care of, make sure everyone has gear. Someone needs a mini HDMI adapter or some shit. So, finding, making sure everyone's got their setup, and sometimes it's just like, okay, I guess I got to do some running. Okay, we got to do, these lyrics aren't good. Nobody in the band likes this, but the vocalist loves it. So, yeah, there's a lot of problem solving. I like solving problems. I've always been into puzzles and stuff like that. So, it's a natural fit. Yeah.
It's kind of funny because I feel like outwardly knowing you as peripherally, because I would say like we are friendly.
Yeah.
We have good conversations and hangs when we do, but like I would say our relationship is one of quality over quantity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a thing where from afar, I feel like something I admire that you do is setting people up for success. And something I've really been fixated on in the last like year or two is like the roles and relationships, and like not everyone can be like the Michael Jordan. Sometimes you need that like sixth guy coming off a bench that's like, my role is to give you 10 minutes to like chill and not suck enough that like you have to come back. I can hold my own, and then you come in, and that's my role. But also I feel like I'm someone that understands roles and where things need to be. So if I need to be the dominant person, I can switch into that role. If I need to like sit back, I can. But I don't think a lot of people are aware of how hard it is to be aware of those in the moment. So to hear that, I feel like that's something you've always been tapped into, again, from my perspective, I think it's kind of like your superpower. I think like it's the thing, like you provide a safe environment for people to feel like they can be creatively at their peak, try things and not be judged. And I think the proof is in the pudding. I think that's why people come back to you. I think it's why the records you do with people resonate, as odd as they may be in the time. Like, you think of like the old A Plea for Purging record you did with them, or, No Hope by Color Morale. Everyone was like, what the fuck is this? And then now I would say it's arguably like the most defining album of their career that everyone's like, that was the record. But I think it speaks to you and what you as a person bring to this thing that people don't see.
Yeah. It's funny because when I was a kid, playing goalie in hockey I was so attracted to that position because you're the last line of defense, right? And that's just a position I wasn't really, because a lot of people are like, oh, I want to be scoring the goals and stuff. I want all the glory. It's like, I don't really care about that.
Hold on, let me interrupt you for just a second before I let this go.
Okay.
Is that why you were attracted to drumming too, you think?
Yeah, for sure.
Because you're the backbone. Yeah. Okay.
It's the backbone of the band, right? Like live, you're kind of only as good as your drummer.
Yeah.
Because, back when we played, not to a click. So if I'm off, everyba's off.
Yeah.
If the vocalist is off, but I'm on, we're good. So it's you're supporting from the back line essentially. Yeah, no, it's very much that same type of thing. I was always super drawn. All my favorite hockey players were goalies. That was just the thing I was drawn to, and since I was a little kid. So it's just, I guess I'm predisposed to a bit of the support role type thing, which I enjoy. I enjoy it a lot, and there's, I've written a lot of songs that have done really well, but I'm not really too interested in that limelight role. Like when my band started, when we were kind of at our peak popularity, which we were never a huge band, but enough that anywhere I would go in Michigan for a period, I would get recognized at malls, at theaters and stuff like that. And at first it was gratifying. I was like, wow, that's cool. You like my music. After a while, it's just like, I see where this is going, and I'm just more of an introverted stay-at-home type.
Yeah.
And it started to feel like people are entitled to your time in a way that was like, I don't get the consent here. It's like, I appreciate it, and it's awesome. But some people would just like, you're kind of trapped for a little while. It's just like, I'm hanging out with Sarah. I don't, you know what I mean? It's like, it's nice, but and we weren't in that big of a band. So I see bands like Lorna come here, and then they go to Meyer and they get mobbed and stuff. I'm just like, oh man. And some people are built, Will handles that with such grace. He's a great guy. I know it gets to him too. He deals with a lot. For me, I'm just not that type of person. I'm not the type of person to, a little bit of recognition goes a long way with me. Anybody likes a little bit of flattery, right? You do some work and someone says, hey, that's really good. That's great. Like I said, it's, I like that too, but not very much. I just like to be mostly left alone to make music with people that, that we get along, we click on some things. It's, a lot of people of a similar path in terms of very passionate about music, very determined and driven. And that's something that before music, it was art. Mm-hmm. That's always the thing I thought I was getting into, but I just kept getting roped back into music because I was the only guy that knew how to record, and none of us had money. So that's kind of just how this whole thing started rolling. But the support role is, I just feel, I don't know, like a natural fit for it. It works out for me. Like the touring thing, we did a little bit of the touring thing. Again, a little bit of that went a long way. I'm glad I did it, but I'm glad I didn't do another day of it because I just got sick of it pretty quickly. I just like being at home by myself. I don't leave the house very often these days.
No, you don't. This is why I'm here at your house.
Yeah.
I kind of want to dive into that a little bit. As I get older, I find I'm really intrigued by how people navigate their relationships. And to me, like, I've been with my wife, we're going to be married 10 years in December. We'll have been together for like 15.
Very
so
cool.
Almost like a third of our life now has been together.
Yeah.
You and Sarah have been, I don't know that I recall a time that you and Sarah weren't together, like even just dating.
Yeah.
So how has it been? I guess let me kind of back it up just a little bit. I feel like like today, so you're recording a band right now, your hours are 12 to 8, like you are kind of compartmentalized in, this is the time I'm giving to this.
Yep.
Then I'm going to have my time, which now you're giving me more of that, so thank you. But how do you find where, since you work here, and granted it's a different part of the house, and it's you come here to work, but it's still all encompassing of what you do in your space with your partner. Do you ever find there to be sort of conflict of this to there, because it's not a separate, like, I have a 10-minute drive to decompress from this thing to the next? Like, how is that to navigate?
Well, see, I'm the band's therapist, and she's my therapist.
The therapist always has a therapist.
Yeah, exactly. We were married 7 years before Besiege put out our first album.
Okay.
We got married young.
Okay.
Yeah, we met online in, was it 98?
Oh, we're talking AIM days.
We're talking
ASL.
We're talking MIRC days.
Oh, okay.
Even before those. But we just clicked.
That would have been a Juno disc for you, right?
So it was a strange thing. Like, again, a loner, an introvert, online chatting, that just appealed to me. Like, talking to people, I was very difficult. It was very difficult for me to open up in high school. Like, getting to be more social is something that I've begrudgingly had to learn over the years as you meet more people. But I was drawn to it immediately. And we had a great program at my school where I could stay until 10 p.m. after school and just be online. And it would take days to download one picture. But chatting with people on these early teen chats was just awesome. I met a bunch of people from Michigan and came out here, had a girlfriend actually for a while. And I met Sarah and I met a bunch of other people I still hang out with to this day on these teen chats. And I had a girlfriend, and then we broke up, and I'm just like, cool, I don't want to do another long-distance relationship out of the state, out of the country. Not for me. But Sarah and I kept in touch, and it was just, we had so much in common that it was almost begrudgingly that we got together, because just there's no one else that have so much in common. We see the world in a very complementary way. We're not exactly the same, but there's a lot of that one builds the other person up type of thing. So having that support really across the board, unquestionable, you know what I mean? No strings attached type support. Yeah, I can't imagine being with anybody else or anybody else being as supportive. Always there, anything I need. She does a lot of stuff for the studio now, really all the back end stuff, all the taxes, logistics. She feeds me, you know what I mean? Make sure I brings me food when I'm, and stuff like that. So it's definitely a support structure. It'd be a very different studio and music career, without somebody that supportive. Yeah.
And I feel like that's the thing I've noticed, again, from afar, is that it seems like you have to have that person that backs what you do, as crazy as it may be. And like, I constantly say, like, if I didn't have a supportive wife, like, I don't really know how much I would do this. I might change and do something else. But it's like, she supports this thing because she knows what it does for me. Like, I'll ride that high of like a really great conversation, and it'll take me for a while. And then like, maybe if it's a band person, it's like, then they come through and it's like someone like Chase, or it's someone like, a handful of people that are now like her friend, like she's friends with them.
That's
And
cool.
it becomes this thing where it's like, yeah, this like thing that you kind of fostered and let me do, or maybe you gave me some money to buy a piece of gear I needed, or something. You facilitated this thing because you know that it does something for me that I don't want to say you can't provide, but you understand there's something that it gives me that like nothing else would, and you foster that environment. And I think like, you need that person, because I think we have heard of so many examples where it's the other way, where the person brings you down and makes you feel bad for the time you're not spending with them.
Oh yeah, no, there's never any of that. There's never any of that with her. No. Now, one of the things that, like, I'm very independent and just kind of like, I'm totally fine on my own. Love it. You know what I mean? I don't need to be around people. Like, what's that saying? It's just like introverts. You know what I mean? It's the social thing that drains the battery, and extroverts, they get their battery charged.
Yeah.
I've learned to be better about the social dynamic than I used to. It used to drain me a lot more. But I'm around people all the time. But I'm around people of very similar mindset in terms of artistic, passion-driven people. These are people that are upending their entire life to go in a van and on tour. And it's difficult. I mean, you're really sacrificing so much when you start a band, because it's difficult. But you love it so much that you'll just push through all the difficulty. It doesn't even seem difficult because you're so excited about this thing. So I can relate to those people very much so. So I'm constantly working with people that are, very much in the line of, it's also, very difficult to start a studio, you know what I mean, and produce bands for a living. It's not an easy path. I'm trying to think of how we got into this particular thing, talking about like supportive partners and stuff like that. Yeah. Oh yeah. I can't imagine a more supportive situation. It's really, I think to myself, yeah, what would it be like with let's say if I didn't have a partner in a situation like this? I'd probably have a more unhealthy balance. She keeps me very
what regard, like
in terms of making sure that I'm not overdoing it, or if I feel the need and I'm like, well, I feel obligated to hang out because we have some time off. But she'll sense it's just like, if you want to go work on stuff, you should go work on stuff. It's like, okay. So there's, you know what I mean? There's a good sense of, she knows me better than I know myself. So it's just like, I can tell maybe you should be working on this thing, or maybe you should take some time off because it's, or whatever. But it's mostly just, allowing me that space and being, very supportive.
I wonder as well, given that I feel like, as we were kind of discussing, like the role you play when in the creation of these albums that you work on, I would assume there's a little bit of an empathic type thing in you as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That I wonder when you're tapping into something maybe thematically, like, some of the bands you work with are very big into like big ideas or concepts or things like that, that if they're kind of a little bit heavier, maybe you have a session where like a vocalist is getting really vulnerable about something, or you learn more about them. Do you take any of that on? Like, is that hard to kind of shut off?
Absolutely. Yeah, there are some people that I work with where it can be difficult. There can be difficult subjects to deal with, and it's hard. It's hard. Let's say working with Adam from Lorna Shore, he's very passionate, and he can get very negative about some things, and it's hard for me to like separate that. And it's just like it can really affect my mood as well, and I see him struggling. It's just like, damn, it's just like I can't. It's hard for me to like sometimes be that be the cheerleader in the moment. If you can see somebody struggling, because they're trying so hard to get something done, and feel defeated or they feel like they're not getting the thing that they want to get and they're trying just their absolute damnedest. Yeah, it can be difficult. Or somebody, again, talking about some kind of subject matter, working with, just Larry recently, Larry.
Yeah.
And with his project. And I could tell that there's like a creative almost constipation that's there. And once it's released and we get that song out of it, and you can just see this outpouring of emotion and stuff. And it's just like, wow. Yeah. Empathy is something that it's just like, it's a double-edged sword, right? I mean, because it's great and allows you to tap into these emotions, but it can be hard to separate that because it's because again, like I said earlier, I do my best work when I know and care for the people I work with. So I can't just be like, I'm just a producer. Yeah, I'm not your friend. I'm just like, we're just gonna clinically mix this, and yeah, that's hard. So it's a lot of it's emotionally driven. The stuff that I work on, the choices that I make, informed by the people I work with, or how it makes me end up feeling, and yeah, it can really take on a life of its own sometimes, and it can be difficult to deal with for sure.
I think like what's kind of got me thinking about that is like going back and listening to like this artist. It's not quite the same because like he produces and writes, but like thinking of like listening to the Downward Spiral. You're like, man, it's so depressing and it's so whatever. Yeah. I couldn't imagine then being like, now I'm going to work on editing it, and you're hearing just this like most fucking horrible things, your most depressed things you're admitting. And then you got to look at it from a technical standpoint of like, all right, I got to mix this a little bit. And like you're hearing these things. But I'm thinking more of like going back and listening to like that first Korn record. Yeah. And thinking about Ross Robinson literally being a foot away from Jonathan Davis during like a song like Daddy. Like, how do you give someone that space to get in there, and then you're done, and then it's like, okay, well, you go back to your, apartment or whatever you're staying at. Go back to my wife now, and then I just gotta kind of like whatever. And I think like the closest I think I've kind of gotten to talking about it was like with Chris, actually, the guy I did the podcast with, my first podcast in my 300th. I talk about like tattooing got to a point where it was like just. It's reality TV, and it's the most sad, depressing stories about someone dying or this horrible thing you went through. And that kind of became what tattooing was. And it wasn't like, I got a sick little jammer of something stupid because it was a Tuesday. But it became this thing where, he was talking about a client he had, and he was like, it's an older lady, she's getting this like tattoo, it's her first tattoo. I'm asking her, like, what made you want this? And especially for your first one. Oh, I left my abusive husband of like 30 years. And like this is, it's the reality of life that you're dealing with at that point. And then it's like, okay, you got to be there for them. And then I was like, well, how do you then go home to your significant other and not dump that on them too? So they're like, do you want to wallow in this with me? Because like, it's heavy shit. Yeah. Like, how do you not do that and put unnecessary baggage onto someone else in your personal relationship? And to me, I think that is something I strive to be better at, like at times where it's like, I heard something on a podcast a while ago. It was like, I think a lot of times, especially we as men, we want to fix. We tend to be fixers. So I know like when my wife is telling me about a problem, my brain just starts going like, oh, how would I fix this? How can I help you fix this? Yeah. And I heard on a podcast, someone goes, I don't need you to fix. I need you to listen. That's how you're going to help me. And I think, again, it kind of goes back to those like roles we play and all those kind of things. But I think of the music that you like predominantly are in, some of the things that are being discussed and talked about and people tapping into that, they clock out, quote unquote, and then now you're going upstairs and you're like, oh, I don't know. Like, to me, and that's where like the separation thing, the drive of like the distance between home and work, like to me, how do you compartmentalize that in your relationship with your significant other who's here and such a part of it as well?
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff in there because there's something you said a few seconds ago about the fixing and the listening is something between Sarah and I, we're a bit of both because a lot of times she's also the fixer role, but also the listening role. And sometimes I just, need somebody to listen to something and not necessarily fix. So, but it's like, again, she has to listen to things. If I get frustrated, it's just like, I don't have a lot of close friends besides the people I work with.
Right.
I really don't. I'm more of a quality over quantity people. I'm not interested in hanging out with a bunch of people. I'd just rather hang out with her. Usually 100 times out of 100 times, if I have some time off, she's the only person I really want to hang around. That's about it. So she gets the brunt of that. But at the same time, the thing that you said about the listening and the fixing, I think about some bands too, where like, they bring a song. Can the song be better, or do people just need to listen to it as is, or does it need to be fixed? And sometimes it's a bit of both. Sometimes it's very much fixing, and sometimes it's just listening. Just put this thing out, like let's say like working with David from King. Doesn't need a whole lot of help in terms of lyrics or phrasing. I work with a lot of vocalists on lyrics and phrasing. He doesn't need much help at all. With a little singing a little bit, but lyrics and storytelling. I mean, the dude is like one of the best across all genres. One of the best lyricists out there. So, I don't need to do much there at all. Just present the story, be a documentarian in the moment, and in other projects I'm called on to be more like Michael Bay and doll it up with all the explosions and stuff. And I like both. I think if I did just one or the other, it would get boring. But I like the variety of things. That to me is interesting. I've always listened to a wide variety of music. I've played bands with a lot of like metal elitists or hardcore elitists, and I just never got it. I don't understand this like narrow-minded way of looking at any, one particular genre. But yeah, the thing go back about the partner. Yeah, where do you turn it off? How do you separate these things? You get better at it over the years. Yeah, because I remember when I worked at Bay Screen Printing, and I was talking to somebody that came in, and he had a studio. I was like, oh yeah, you don't want to do this. You're going to hate music. And I was just like, oh dang, I don't want that to happen. But I think I have I don't know. I can separate out listening to music and working on music. I know some people struggle with that for whatever reason, wherever my brain sits on the spectrum of whatever. Because I was doing a record recently. It was like a grunge record. And I was listening to this Teenage Wrist album that I really liked. I really love this record. And then when I went to compare my mix to theirs, I was like, oh, I actually hate their mix. I never even thought of it. It didn't even occur to me. Just as a listener, I don't care about that stuff. Like some people are like, oh, you can't listen to bands unless they have a great mix. Like, I don't care. I really don't care. If the music is good and it's a genuine performance, if it's recorded in tin cans, I don't care. I just, that stuff, the story of the recording can sometimes be interesting, but is the production getting in the way of the music? Is it helping the music? Because I hear all the time, there are plenty of bands where the production of the music, the music isn't good, and then the production is trying to overcompensate. And I'm just like, nothing here is interesting to me. But I'd way rather a rustic recording that's poopy, but there's some genuine energy about it. If it's a crusty punk band or some shitty black metal band, but it feels genuine, that's all I need. I don't need much more than that. Yeah.
I think it's interesting, you talking about you're the guy saying you're gonna hate music. I think that was a real thing for me, because being in this, but kind of having to, I would say you to not make us comparable, but I think you would understand this in the come up of you as a producer. You kind of took on jobs maybe because you needed the money and you're trying to build the name and all that stuff. So you do those things. I think when I realized I wanted to be something more than just a press junket type of thing, that I wanted to dive more into real things about the people that are making this stuff and humanize people that typically don't get that opportunity.
Yeah.
That was more interesting to me. But I also really hated listening to albums because, and I'm sure you get it maybe worse than I do, but I hate when I go through an email and there's literally a 12 adjective paragraph about this band from Norway that has the best Finnish, Norwayish, folk, something, frog stompy, whatever the fuck, and you're like, I don't care about any of that. None of that matters.
It should be self-evident when you hit play.
Yeah, and half
you didn't
the
need
time,
to tell me and sell me on it.
And that's what I feel a lot of the music became. And then when I would listen to the music, a lot of it became okay, so I'm going to talk to someone who's doing 10 to 15 interviews that day in a matter of 2 hours. What can I, in a half hour, what can I possibly say that no one else is latching onto? So I was trying to come at music from not as an enjoyable experience, but almost like from a creative writing process where it's like, I'm taking what you did. How can I find and extract something no one else is going to think of? That like looking at a photo and blowing it up into the most minute one square to then talk about that, knowing that everyone else is going to focus on something else.
Right.
And I really grew to hate music. And I became not a fan of music either, like going to see it, enjoying it, and like not even old records that I would go to as a, like that I knew I liked these records. And it really took a while to fall back in love with music and being a fan. And I think around that same time, I just understood it. I don't care what anyone else thinks. And I should just satiate myself. Like, to the point where, like, Alfonso and I were talking on the ride up. We were talking about Ice Nine Kills. And I was like, you know, what's interesting about them is, like, it's gimmicky for sure. Like, they found a gimmick that works. But what I like, though, is that whoever in the writing process, and I know there's, like, a team that writes most of these songs with Spencer, they have found a way to add the little minute details that super fans of these things are really going to love. So I played a meet and greet, which is based on Silence of the Lambs. And I go, like, the one thing I really liked is during the breakdown where they had the, like, the Chianti, like, and, like, it's a part of the breakdown. I was like, I fucking love that. And I go, however, I also have ruined that song for me because I'm such a fan of all kinds of music. When that chorus comes in, it's totally the melody to Uninvited by Alanis Morissette. Like, and I was like, when you hear this, straight up, I'll sing the melody before it happens and then, like, tell me it's not. And he was like, holy shit, it is. And I go, but see, I also kind of love that. When I first started, I was like, that's really cool because it's not something you would expect. And then he revealed, like, a song you guys are working on, steals, borrows, whatever from another band and all this kind of stuff. And I go, to me, those are the Easter eggs that make it fun. And those are the things that actually getting back into music, I started getting more into, was just like these weird nuances of what makes the album sound great. Even down to the thing where I'm like, it trips me out now. We have all this technology, or I should say you have all this technology. But I go back to, like, old Duran Duran records, or I go back to more like the 80s, like synthwave and electronic stuff. And I'm like, how does it still sound so good when the recording technology was not? And there are bands that would try to do something very similar and it sounds so dated within like 2 years. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, a big part of that is it relies more on the people. The more technology you have, the more apt we are to scrub out ourselves and our mistakes. Oh, I can just do this thing and Josh will just fix it. You know, and sometimes you find yourself in that trap. I try very much to focus on the performance first and foremost. The thing I learned really early on when I did recording is like, oh, so to where it started was when Besiege got signed and we got like a small budget, and I'm also a shrewd businessman, and I'm like, here's our budget. Hey, can we get like 10,000 CDs instead? And then I just record that ourselves, and Blood and Ink was like, yeah, we can do that. It's like, sick. So I can make a lot of money off that. Way more than what our budget is. So I did the album, and we did some tours and stuff, and I started getting bands coming up to me, yo, your record sounds great. You want to do my band? Want to do my band? Can you do our EP? So it really started taking off from that. And then some signed bands on some slightly bigger labels were like, yo, here's our budget. Will this work for you? I'm like, yo, that's like a decent amount of money. It didn't really occur to me until then that I could do this as a job. Never, I never pursued it. It just kind of fell. You know, it just fell that way. But then you do recording, then you realize pretty quickly that good songs kind of mix themselves. That's kind of the trade secret. So I was like, okay, I need to focus then on helping bands make better songs, because me also doing the mixing is like, I want to be lazy. I don't want to have to like struggle so hard making this mix sound good. So what do? Work hard at the beginning, get the performance is good, get the songs good. So when it comes time to mix, hey, we know where everything needs to be. There's no question mark. Yeah, but this song isn't that good. It's not going to mix itself because you got guitar doing this thing, the vocal doing that thing, and the drum doing this thing, and everyone's doing their own thing. It does not making sense. So my job as the producer is to try and arrange that, to make sure everybody's sometimes just not aware. People are so stuck in their own, thing that they're not really listening to what else is going on. My job is to listen to the whole arrangement, and then can we make some adjustments? Can we just get rid of this thing or that thing? Does that make it better? And see what works. But yeah, What was the thing you were just talking about earlier? He said something, and I was going to say something. It really was an interesting point. What was it?
Talking about falling out of love with music. I was talking about
Yeah,
finding.
it was something with that. Yeah, I haven't. That hasn't happened with me. I think one of the things I liked about heavy music is playing it live. Nothing's better than playing heavy music live. Ain't nothing better than that. That's
Yeah.
fun. And I think the same holds true with producing heavy music. It's just fun. It's just ridiculous, over the top. It's just so fun, to put together. I thought I would get sick of it, but I guess I haven't yet. So that's good.
Kind of switching up things a little bit. You said something earlier, and it kind of, I almost wanted to cut you off right then and be like, this is why you're into this. You were talking about how you like kind of tinkering with things. You like to solve puzzles and all that kind of stuff. Would you say, like, because how long has your pinball love been a thing?
Oh man, so you're close to my age. You remember going to arcades
Yeah.
in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And for me, it was always Mortal Kombat. It was Street Fighter. It was games that made sense.
Yeah.
Right? I saw pinball and be like, this is cool from a mechanical standpoint, but it seems really random and chaotic. I want to play a game where I can pick Ken and I can do fireballs and I can do dragon punches. I'm in control of my destiny.
Yeah.
So I would throw a few quarters in pinball machines, but it really started when COVID hit.
Okay.
And I had some time on my hands, a few weeks, and you saw the TV in the hallway.
Yep.
I made like a virtual pinball machine. I was like, I wonder if I could just like put a TV like this and one like, because I would play some virtual pins and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I wonder if I can like make it. And then I went down the rabbit hole. I got like a bunch of buttons. I got an accelerometer. I got a fake plunger. So it was all like I was building this like virtual pinball machine. I found myself playing it more and more and more and understanding rules more and more. And then we had our 20th anniversary, Sarah and I, and we were supposed to go to Japan. That was we'd saved that for a long time. We're like, I want to go to Japan. And then COVID hits, and then also the
So
Olympics.
a pinball machine costs as much as a Japan trip, you're telling me.
There you go. Exactly. So you know where this is going. So we're like, it was her idea actually. So we could probably just get a real pinball machine. I'm like, yo. So we got it, and it was all over from there. But it is, there's just so many interesting mechanical features to it. There's game elements. There's so much nuance to it. To me, actually, like learning a pinball machine is like learning a musical instrument. There's so much subtlety to the nudging, to the rules, to like little tricks. It's been this like, what is this? The quote that I love from Special When Lit. It's a documentary about pinball. It's a diamond that you have to personally shine.
Yeah.
It's the same reason I love Dark Souls games. Dark Souls games will not come to you. You have to come to Dark Souls games. Just like heavy music, right? Like, really heavy bands don't change their sound to be more marketable.
Yeah.
You have to come to the heavy band. You have to say, you know what? I'm going to be open to listen to what you have to say. Whereas like pop music is like, let me be as marketable and slick as possible.
Yeah.
And easy to digest as possible. And again, that's another puzzle, another challenge. Not better or worse, but there's something about the thing that truly is what it is, despite what everybody else wants. And now that brings you back to the thing that you said that I want to touch on. That is doing the things for yourself, finding that, I'm really, not to sound selfish, but I'm really at my happiest when I don't care about what other people think. I just do the thing that I enjoy doing, and it makes me happy, and for some reason it works around with the other people around me as well. And I think, again, maybe just being, again, like an introvert, a loner kid, grew out in the sticks, so I didn't really have a whole lot of opportunity to just socialize and hang out with people, so I would entertain myself and draw and listen to music by myself. Not really, caring what people think about what I listen to. Or, I would tape Sega Genesis soundtracks, and that's what I listened to quietly on the bus. Because if people found out I was listening to game music, I was going to get beaten up. You know what I mean? It's different now, but back then it's like, oh, that's lame. Why would you do that? It's like, yeah, everyone else is listening to like Soundgarden, Nirvana. I'm listening to Streets of Rage on the bus.
Dude, I remember, I had a Genesis when everyone else had Nintendos.
Yeah.
And I had a Sega CD back when everyone was getting other things.
Yeah.
I remember taking the Mortal Kombat game for Sega CD and putting it into a CD player, and it had all the soundtrack on it. And when I figured that, I was like, and then figuring out most of the Sega CD games had that feature, and I was like, what the fuck, this is so cool. like, your stupid cartridge things can't do this. Like,
Yeah, it's dope.
it was so cool to kind of see that. But it just was a thing where I feel like the pinball thing was kind of newer, at least as far as like having them in the house and all that.
Yeah.
But it was this thing where, I mean, again, outsider's perspective, like, it just would seem like, well, yeah, no shit, you would really fucking dig that. Because, like, it is everything you love of just, like, the minute details of everything down to, like, you know, if it's like, you know, I know, like, my friend's got the Evil Dead machine.
Oh, sick.
So and then there's like his wife got him the carpet that goes, or had someone get a carpet made for that. But it's like, you know, the topper that you got to pay a little extra for, and like all these things down to like the bonuses and the music that's being used. It's such a multi-sensorial experience that's also so hands-on.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, well, that is a personification of you in a machine form.
Yeah.
So how, you know, to me it was like when you're like, oh, I'm just kind of getting in this thing. I'm like, no, really? You're going to be obsessed with this shit. And I already can tell.
Yeah, it's another reason that I've also really it's the one thing that Sarah and I found kind of together. Because when we first met, you were talking about Sega CD. She had a Sega CDX, the portable Genesis one. She's like, yeah, I saved up for that when I was a kid. I'm like, I'm marrying you. She had Sega Channel, and she was into the same type of bands I was.
Yeah.
She was into the same kind of video games, same type of clothing. We both shopped at like thrift stores. It's just everything, on and on and on. So by the time we got together, like, we were just instantly friends, and we had so much stuff in common. But pinball was something that we both kind of, not, I wouldn't say dismissed, but never really gave the time of day. And then once we both got into it, it was like, wow, this is cool. We're both really getting into this type of thing together. And it's been awesome. But yeah, it's crazy. Like you said, multi-sensory. It's got audio, it's got video, it's tactility, it's electronic, it's analog.
Well, then you got to fix them sometimes yourself. So you're
Yeah,
getting into it and more
do.
there.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool. It's been fun getting into that and introducing bands when they're here to, like, yeah.
Well, then it becomes the competitive part when you see the high scores.
Yes.
Yep.
That's the little high score screen that I've been keeping out
Yep.
there.
I don't
See, I'm playing one-handed. I'm going by Rick Allen.
Okay.
That's my handle.
Your handle.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my login.
You know, something else I kind of wanted to sort of talk to you about, because I feel like, you know, I've kind of laid the groundwork of being like, I think everything you do has intention and purpose behind it, and you're very, you know, everything kind of is done with purpose. I feel like I hate to call it like your social media persona, but I love that, like, when the work's done and you kind of have to present it to a degree, you're like, this is all bullshit. This is all pomp and circumstances. It's not real.
Yeah.
And you just fucking lean into the most absurd aspects of the job, the other side of it.
Yeah.
How long... Because knowing you, I know that was always a part of you, and I think it's a part of wrestling. Like, you know, just take a gimmick and crank it up to 11 and make it more absurd or whatever. Like, so I understand where it comes from, and the very dry Canadian humor and like humor of our youth. I know where it comes from.
Yeah.
And I fucking love it because of that. How did you have to give yourself permission to lean into that when now that social media is what it is, for fear that someone's gonna see that and go, oh, you're just taking the piss out of everything. Fuck you.
I mean, I feel like I don't do a whole lot of social media.
Like, I'm thinking of, like, sorry to cut you off. I'm thinking of, like, your Nail the Mix thing.
Oh, okay.
I think so many people are, like, that is a prestigious thing to do and be a part of. But when you did, like, your trailer for yours, I was like, oh my God, this is so great. I hope everyone thinks it's as funny as for what it is.
Oh, here's the thing. Like, the people that don't find it funny, that's fine. But the people who do, again, we're kindred spirits. So if someone likes that, it's just like, okay, cool. Like, it's just about putting your vibe out there, you know, that you don't take it too seriously. Because I would see a lot of people that do the ads for them. I'm just like, this shit is just so... it's just so... It can be so corporate and whack.
Yeah.
But they're cool. They're just like, I'm just going to do this. Is that all right? He's like, yeah, that's fine. So, you know, the people at Nail the Mix are cool. They'll just let me do whatever I want. Because it's really my ass that's you know, make a fool out of. So, but it's, to me, it's just, you know, just having fun with whatever. To just read a script or something, it just makes my skin crawl. I just don't like doing it. But yeah, between that and so, yeah, just having some fun. I always thought about doing a TikTok thing, but I just don't care enough to, like, to do it. It just doesn't, again, you have to really want that outward validation
Yeah.
type of thing. And again, a little for me goes a long way. I'd rather be playing video games. I'd rather be playing pinball. I'd rather be going for a walk.
Yeah.
I'd rather be looking at birds. I'd rather be like checking my yard camera, see if the possum came. You know what I mean? Like that to me is way more interesting. I find that just way more fulfilling. And I think that's it. It's that outward validation, like you said. It's just like when you listen to yourself, your internal compass is: am I doing this thing because I truly believe in it, or I've been told to do this?
Yeah.
And I need that outward validation.
Well, I think it's hard because I knew in doing this, like literally, like half of the conversation on our way of coming up with was this, but it was just like, I'll have friends tell me like, well, you should do this. Go on TikTok and do this thing. You should do these things. And like I break it down where I'm like, okay, you're telling me so and so did that. Who are they? Well, they're from this show. Okay, so they have a built-in audience. They're known for a thing.
Yeah.
I'm not from a band. No one knows me. I'm not from this tangible thing before that gives me a built-in audience.
Right.
Secondly, you're talking about how they post clips and they do all this stuff. Well, they have money and a team that does that. They're not doing that. So like, I would have to do all of that in addition to my normal day job and my personal life and all these things. And I don't care. Yeah, and I was like, and at the end of the day, here's the thing. I don't fucking care because you're going to listen to a minute. My thing is more about the full like it's almost like I'm a full album guy. I'm not a single.
Yeah, long form content.
Yeah, and it's like, so I'm playing the game, I'm going to clip things out and I'm going to do it because I have the time.
Yeah.
But and even as I'm clipping stuff out, it's like someone goes, well, you're never in these things. I go, well, it's not about me. To me, it's not. Yeah. But someone's like, well, shouldn't you throw yourself in there? Oh, no, I don't think so. But then it's like, all leading up to this, like I told you before we started rolling, I thought if there was anyone to kind of fuck around with the idea of a full video in-person version where it's like, let's be pomp, I'll dress up, I'll wear my own sweater, and then I wanted to do like a 5-minute fuck off kind of thing to be funny, because I know that you would play with me in that play with me in that sense.
Yeah.
But then I was like, what's the point? Yeah. Like, you and I would get a kick out of it. Sure. It might be funny to a few people, but like the time and energy of Alfonso doing something with it's just not worth it in the grand scheme of things. Yeah. And I can find my way to bring some of the humor and some of the things that you and I actually enjoy discussing and goofing on through this while still doing what I do, which is being serious.
Yeah.
And I think like those are the fun things, but I also know when trying to introduce some of these things on the podcast, I have these trepidations of like, am I showing a little bit too much of a side of me that maybe the audience I've cultivated won't get? Like there's a little bit of trepidation there where it's like, you get most of me. And what really revealed that to me was doing another podcast where it was with my friend Rush, Rush, and Chris. And it's like, it was the three of us. We've known each other 20 years. We have all these jokes and I'm more of a funny, I'll sit in the shadows for a second and then fucking snipe you with something. And it was really weird to have people see that side of me, which is the side I think most of my really good friends know me to be, but it's not how I am because that's not how I am of service on this.
Right.
And now I'm trying to find a little bit better of a balance where I can kind of bring these things in, but there's that inner struggle of like, well, how much this is who I am, but how much of this do I bring out to someone else? Because maybe I need to keep that for me, or maybe I need to keep that for these people, and that's what I don't give away.
Yeah, it's different for everybody with stuff like, in terms of like, let's say Sarah and myself. Yeah. We don't post anything about each other on social media.
That's why I love your Twitch when you're both on it, because I can. She just like, because I can rip jokes through her, and then it's like.
We just like, I don't. That's something like, again, we talk about validation, like a couple getting validation outside of the relationship to me is a little strange. Yeah. It's very common. It's more common, it seems, than not. I don't understand it. I don't, like I said, maybe there's something I don't know about it. It doesn't feel right to me. Yeah. And I see a lot of people that I'm like, that's a little strange. That you're looking for, you need so much external validation for this partnership. It seems indicative of something unhealthy, is the way. I've never seen it not be the case, but again, like I said, that's one of those things. yeah, how much of yourself? I mean, because like I said, it's a curated, setup, and you want to be honest when I'm working with the band, for example. You want to let down those barriers. Hopefully, sooner than later. Like I say, if you have like 6 weeks or something with the band, or a band that you've been working with a lot, like I've done what Immortal, the EP, Pain Remains, and Everblack with Lauren. So it's just like we know each other pretty well at this point. In Heart's Way is just here. This is what our 6th record together. So it's like we're like family at this point. There's like we can be real about stuff that we like or don't like, or the things we're going through. Jake and I have had some pretty real conversations, about some stuff, even just recently. And it's like, yeah, it's like you're like family, and maybe you'll cross some lines with each other sometimes, and you have to have this dialogue, which is good. I like that. I like that deeper connection, even if the wires get crossed sometimes with some people. That you can be honest, and that you can recover from maybe some miscommunication or being wrong about something. I think that's important, rather than tiptoeing and being just vanilla nice all the time. I think being able to be honest with people and having the maturity to own up to miscommunications or misinterpretations. I think that's very healthy.
I think a big thing that's healthy, I was kind of saying earlier about like doing interviews for your new jobs and stuff, and kind of getting asked very remedial, surface level questions that you can just give the most stagnant answer, and it'll be like, that's great.
Yeah.
And a big one for me was like a gentleman asked me like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I was like,
Classic.
And I go, well, I mean, before my foot surgery, before turning 40 and all the health problems I had, I would have probably just given you the cliche answer of like, well, I hope to be here and further up a corporate ladder or whatever. Now I'll tell you, as someone who's gone to therapy, had a foot surgery where I was laid up for 4 months in a bed, doing nothing, I go, you can't plan for anything. Like, so therapy, and that was what I went to therapy for, was overthinking things that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And the answer was to just be present in the moment and deal with what you can deal with and move forward.
Yep.
So I will tell you, in 5 years, I hope I'm healthy, I hope I'm happy, and I just will be dealing with whatever I can deal with in the moment and making decisions for the short term that I can deal with then, because life has shown me, between losing friends and family and all these other things, you don't know and you can't plan.
No.
So, and I remember the guy was like, that's probably the most honest answer I've ever heard. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm also not, I'm not going to sell you on me, a version of me that's not real.
Exactly. I heard it recently through somebody pretending they met somebody, and they're like, whoa, they found out you're not this thing and that. I say, why do you set up a relationship lying out the gate? It makes no sense. You're
The
just setting
foundations.
yourself, you're setting yourself up for failure, like, and deceit and stuff like that. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
But like you said, the thing in 5 years, it reminds me of when I first started and I first got into being a producer. I'm like, I want to be the best producer on the planet. I want to be the absolute best at what I do.
What did that mean to you then? Can you break it down into a tangible thing?
It was, you're starting out, it's just like, I want the best sounding records out there. I want to figure out what I can. And to me, the first thing to really dive into was getting live drums to sound good, because that's the hardest thing from a technical standpoint. So now you're looking through a very like technical lens. And you're doing really good, but it's like, it's art, it's subjective, right? So who's to say, you know what I mean? Like, an album blows up, and it's like the album dictates what the sound is, right? Like, we all love the sound of a Telecaster. Is it the best guitar in the world? Hell no. But it has that sound about it, right? It sounds nostalgic as soon as you hear it. So then quickly I pivoted. I was still in my 20s, but even then I'm just like, you know what? Being the best producer in the world doesn't mean anything. I need to be the best version of myself that I can be, first and foremost, because that is the most important thing you can ever be. And that will inform your production decisions, right? If you're a good, compassionate person that really wants to seek out the truth of learning people and not let your ego get in the way, and not let all this other bullshit and lies that you tell yourself, get that shit out of the way. Can I distill the truth down of what I'm trying to capture here and hold myself accountable when maybe you need to do this a little better. Maybe you need to spend a little more time on this. Maybe you need to leave it alone. Maybe you need to listen to so-and-so. Maybe they were right. Maybe you were wrong. Or maybe they are wrong and you do have the right thing. You need to push your point. You need to really stand up for the idea that you're presenting. Cutting to that truth is very difficult, and that is a lifelong process. I will never claim to have mastered. But again, in the spirit of enjoying puzzles, get better at that. You know, always be open to being wrong because it's a chance to learn, right? So always being open to that process. So for me, it's the consistent journey of trying to be the best person that I can be. Nothing to do with music at all. It's just your just core of who you are. And the better you can be as a person, the better you're going to be in your partnership, the better of a producer you'll be to the bands you work with, the better, you know, coffee maker you'll be when the band's like, yo, you pour over it? Like, yeah. You know, there's be less bullshit about like, you know, about the process of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And how far you want to go down that rabbit hole, and you're not going to, you know what I mean? Trying to pass something off on a band, you know, that isn't, you know, yeah, it's just one of those things. Just trying to be more honest with myself and with my process of just living. And then, yeah, that just spills over into everything else you do.
Last kind of few questions for you to kind of wrap up so I don't keep you too much.
Sure.
From your work night that you've already put in. You know, I feel like I already know the answer to this is going to be like no, because it's just, I mean, in light of everything we've been saying this whole conversation, but there gets to be a point where in music, we can pinpoint, like we can go back to like Ross Robinson had a sound that everyone wanted after a while in heavy music. Then you had like Adam D, everyone wanted that, what he brought to the table. Then you have like other people that are, you know, the Uber producer that kind of has the sound that everyone is after. Are you aware that you are in that echelon with some of those people in the deathcore, heavy, extreme music genre at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I'm told that type of thing. I try. The best compliment people can give me is when they listen to a record that they like and say, oh, wow, I didn't realize you did that. That's the best compliment I can get, because that tells me it sounds less like my fingerprint on it and more like this is the band and this was right for this band.
Right.
So there's certain trends that you want to be aware of. At the same time, again, you don't want to, you know, cookie cutter albums. It's one of my most despised things that a lot of other producers tend to do. They find a sound that works and they just
plug and play
for all the other bands.
And literally and figuratively.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate that. As someone who likes music, I hate it. It grates on me. So I try very much to, again, it goes back to listening to the band and like, what is right for this band? Get all the inconveniences because it's so convenient. Just load up a bunch of settings and just plug it all through the same thing. But go on that journey with each band that you go through. And what does that journey look like? What's the priority of all these different instruments and sounds, and try to find out what is that sound and develop it with that band, that identity, so that, you know, when you do a Lorna record, it sounds like Lorna. When you do a Signs of the Swarm record, it doesn't sound anything like Lorna. It sounds very much like Signs of the Swarm. If you do a Color Morale record, it sounds like them, or Plea for Purging, or In Heart's Wake, or Heartsick, or any of these other bands that I work with, or Varials. You know, what is that thing? What is the thing that got everybody in the room to light up? Because it's different. Because the thing that might get one group, like, oh yeah, that. Another band is like, oh, that's corny, hell no. So, to me, it's, yeah, you know, everyone has certain things that they like or don't like, but I try to get out of the way as much as possible. If I really feel like, oh, we're going down a real bad path here, we're really lost in something, I'll try to save the band from themselves in those situations. But more often than not, they don't need saving as much as producers love to say that they do. It's just a lot of ego talk because they want to put their own little stamp on it. But I'd rather, yeah, just make the album that makes sense for that band. And to me, the variety, yeah. So like, I don't want a sound that people are after. I want a process that people are after. I want, you know, to cultivate an environment and, like you said, like set people up for success. Not so much the sound of the record, not so much the mix, none of that stuff. The philosophy behind it. And really setting people up to really knock their own music out of the park. However that mix sounds, you know, we'll figure it out. But like, yeah, trendy sounding albums. Like I said, there's certain things that happen. Oh, okay, that's cool. But I try to avoid too much gimmick stuff. But in the deathcore world, there can be a lot of gimmicky stuff, and it can be fun. But yeah, just trying to be careful about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't cannibalize itself, right?
Yeah, I just wonder because, like I said, we as people and music fans are able to look over, and you can extend it even to pop producers and different
for sure.
genres.
Yep.
You know, like for a while in rap, it was like it's Swiss Beats, it's Pharrell, it's
Yep.
Kanye, and then if you want to go back further, there's other people. Forward, there's other people, and it becomes this thing where it's like, as soon as the Timbaland beats comes on, like I know it's Timbaland. There's intangibles that make these producers have a sound,
Yeah.
and I would feel like, on one hand, that's something you're striving for, like that thing where you're like, oh, I have my thing in a sea of copycats.
Yeah.
I have something that is undeniable to me and my sound that I've cultivated. So on one hand, I could see it being a thing where you're like, that's great. I have something that's me.
Yeah.
But I could see the other side of it where it's like, oh, fuck, did I just like pigeonhole myself into this thing that I have to do?
Yeah.
So that's why I was trying to just, are you aware of it? And then you kind of answered it where you're like, yeah, I am, but I also kind of unfuck it from myself so I don't do those things.
Well, and then there's some bands like with King, we've done a million records together.
Yeah.
So but David's really adventurous with the types of sounds he wants musically.
Yeah.
So that's no problem. But let's say a band like Lorna where like it's more, Adam likes to kind of refine his sound more and more.
Yeah.
And we tried a lot of different things. We did Immortal, very different than EP, very different than Pain Remains. Once we did Pain Remains, it felt like, okay, now this band's sound feels to be locked in. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I don't want to mess with that too much, right? I want to do something different so Pain Remains doesn't sound exactly like Everblack. So it's just like you try to do some things, but it's like, well, there's a certain formula that's working for them,
mm-hmm.
and you don't want to mess that up.
Right.
So there's a certain amount of, you don't want, again, records to sound, again, if Suffer comes in, I don't want them to sound like Lauren. Oh, they need to find their own voice, right?
Right.
So I want to make sure that sounds like something that they, because we've done, 2 records together now. I mixed one and produced the most recent one. I knock on wood that I do their next one. It's going to be probably a very different process because I feel like we did some cool things with and some of these other songs. So I think it'll develop more.
Right.
And we'll find, depending on, how many records we do together, you kind of like hone in on that band's type of sound. And if it's all the same members, because sometimes if new members come in, that drastically changes the sound,
Yeah, I remember asking Evitz a while ago, because like at the time, obviously he did all the Dillinger stuff. Yeah. And I was like, when Dillinger was coming out and even like Dead Guy and stuff like that, like you have worked with bands that didn't sound like anyone, literally anyone at the time. Yeah. And so you kind of are establishing this language of sorts.
Yeah.
And so I was like, was it hard to kind of find the language with the band? Like, and Dillinger was kind of the one where, from a production standpoint of like, how do you take this, I don't want to say noise, but how do you take something that from most people would be, it's just so all over the place. Like, where would you even go to make it sound cohesive and like a full band that's not just like playing something as fast as they can to like, in 2 minutes, we're all going to end here and wherever we are is where we are. And he was just like, I don't know. Like, I did everything. Like, it's what we did.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't, I think it had been so long and he had been so in it, but he wasn't able to kind of like think back to like, well, when this was new and it was like, how do you tackle this? How do you work your way through this and find your way to where now, like where you guys, like where you're at with like Lorna and all these bands, you've built that rapport. You have that kind of dialogue between you where it's like, we just know it's comfortable and we know how to do what we do together to make this thing that is whatever, insert whatever band here.
Right.
Like how aware of you are that and like the building steps to get there.
Yeah, it's a million different things that I think if you sit and think about it too much, starts to like, you start to second guess your own process.
Yeah.
A lot of it's instinctual. Like, again, like somebody that does, I don't know why I keep getting drawn back to pommel horse analogies, but you know what I mean? You ask, how the hell do you swing your legs around? It's just like, well, I practiced it a lot and it's like, it's a weird skill. You know what I mean?
Sorry, I'm just thinking of, I keep seeing the ad for FX, for All the Simpsons Ever, and it's just the girl on the, Mrs. Pommel Horse, I'm ready to get down.
Yeah, it's an odd skill, right? It's a very impractical, this isn't like plumbing, this isn't like carpentry. This is an odd skill of a lot of different disciplines. So like, what the hell are we even doing? And it just, you just kind of operate on instinct and you just, it's an accumulation of like thousands of different decisions, that kind of come together and like, is it, like you said about Dilge, is it supposed to sound cohesive? Part of the appeal is not.
Yeah.
So you kind of let it be what it is, which is kind of chaotic.
Dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why you like it.
Yeah. What is kind of to kind of set up my last question for you?
Mm-hmm.
We're coming to the end of 2025. Usually, you get ready to take off, like the end of the year to kind of just decompress and disappear even more somehow. What excites you right now? What are you very excited about, and what is maybe a fear you have?
I'm excited about some projects that I got in the pipe. One that I can share is 156 Silence coming back in. Very excited about that. I think they have an awesome sound. Great people in that band. They have just an interesting trajectory. They're just getting to know them individually. Like you get to know Lorna. They're all pretty charismatic, like everybody in the band. It's kind of like makes sense that they would succeed. You talk to 156 Silence, they're very like reserved people for the most part. So they're more unlikely, and in a lot of ways I relate to that more so because just like it feels like I understand these people that it's just like you kind of get caught up and you've been working and grinding at this thing and all of a sudden it pops off and it's like, whoa, how did we get here, kind of a thing. I mean, and in really every band that takes off is like that. So the thing that I'm looking forward to, working with them, really excited about that. I got I don't know, when does this podcast come out? I don't know how much I should share, but it's hard.
This will probably come out, because you're the last one. I'm hoping to get it out. If I can get it out like the 1st of December and have everything done and ready, then I will. If not, I'll probably push it closer to the end of the year, so at least it's like it's done and whatever. Just because of where we're at now, time wise.
Yeah, I just got like the biggest feature on a record that I've ever gotten in my life. That it was just wild. It's like, wait, you got this person to do a feature? It's no way. And got the files. I'm like, okay, here we go. So that'll make music news, but I don't think that record's coming out until next year.
Okay.
But it's great. I'll tell you more about it off the camera. But so that, looking forward to that album coming out. Fears is just what's a fear? I've really done everything I want. I mean, I'm independent. You know what I mean? As independent, I've been working on music full time since like 2009. Like music, bought this house, everything you see in this room, everything you see in my car, everything. It's wild that I've managed to finagle a career doing this. I've somehow convinced people to work with me on stuff. It's humbling when I think about it. Of course you're afraid of losing that because it's built me a good life. I don't make a shit ton of money, but enough to feel comfortable. Like that's really all you need. That's really,
multiple pinball machines.
Alfonso. It's not Chino. You're afraid of losing that, but I don't worry about it too much because I've always just done the genuine thing that was true to me. So I'm like, well, if I continue doing that, it should just yield what it always has. But of course there's fears that, your fears as you get older about health and things like that. And I try to be, somewhat responsible about that kind of stuff. Fear of, losing my best friend. Of course, that's something that, those are the fears. Just like music wise, not too worried about it. I have all kinds of backup plans if the music thing don't fall through. Honestly, I've been thinking about getting into, like game audio stuff, game design. I got a book that I've been writing, science fiction, that if this don't pan out, I got a card game I'm working on.
You have so many
ancillary. I got backup plans. If this deathcore thing falls through, honestly, it'll be a burden lifted from my shoulders. So that'll be fine. But
it's called jumping to conclusions.
I got, and I have an app. I have an app that it is $1 billion idea. I know I sound crazy for saying this. It is $1 billion music app that I'm afraid of because in order to launch it properly, I would have to stop everything and devote all my time to it. Sure, I could I could probably make a ton of money off of it selling, but it would destroy everything that I have right now that I love dearly. So, and that's the thing, you think about yourself, oh, you get some kind of brilliant idea for something. Maybe you have a hit book or something. It's like, yeah, it's going to change your whole life. I like my life the way it is. And I don't want to upend that because I would have to literally drop everything to pursue this app, to really market it, to get it to the right people and stuff like that. But it would literally change how records are made and consumed. It's a big idea. And everybody I've told it to has been like, yo, this is crazy. You got to do this before somebody else does. And so like I said, I'm not worried about the music thing falling through. I have some backup plans in the worst case scenario, but yeah. No, it's more like basic things that are not music related. It's health. It's having income that can just sustain a comfortable life. I don't need a ton, but just a modest life. Yeah, you always want to be able to maintain that. It's like anytime you work independently, and I've been doing it 16 years now. So you always think, is the gravy train about to run out? But every year it seems to get more and more, momentum. So it's cool. Yeah, I don't worry about it too much. No, for me it's mostly like you can terrified that something would happen to Sarah or something like that. Those are really my biggest fears.
When are you going to Japan?
Never. Never.
Never.
No, it ain't gonna happen. I'll go there in virtual reality. Maybe someone will have a scan for me that I can check out. Watch some videos.
Well, if you sell this app, you're gonna have to go to Japan.
No, the older I've always been a homebody. The older I get, the less I care about leaving my house. I am real cool, just chilling here.
I'll have to. Oh, I don't think you have an iPhone. Now I think about it.
I don't have a smartphone.
That's right. Okay.
I haven't since 2014.
Yeah.
2015.
As I say,
I have an iPad. I'll talk to you.
I'll FaceTime you while I'm on mushrooms in Las Vegas in a couple
on
Friday. I'll be like, I'm at where Chase works.
Right, yeah, he's out in Vegas.
Yeah, he's right across from my favorite place for pizza, Evil Pie.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. And
Of course.
where can anyone find you? Well, I guess you're not really online technically, but where can anyone find you in a digital space or anything you would like to plug?
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, there we go.
Not in any of the music video credits because nobody's putting music video.
You know what?
Credits. Except for Alfonso. Sorry, except for Alfonso. No.
I'll have to put you in the credits for this.
Yeah, there we go.
I guess maybe I'll send the audio to Alfonso and you can do something on a fader or whatever, and that can be like mixed by Josh.
There we go. Yeah,
Josh Schroeder, as I
yeah,
learned.
yeah, I'll master it. Yeah,
Put it on an 8-track for me.
yeah, exactly.
A reel-to-reel version of the podcast.
Yeah.
I can then submit it to somebody for some sort of an award. Most pretentious podcast.